Dr. Sandeep Karajangi, a trailblazing sustainability leader and innovator. As CTO of Ahuja Engineering Services, he is revolutionizing India's clean energy landscape with pioneering biogas and CBG technologies. With a remarkable background that includes groundbreaking research at Harvard Medical School and MIT. Dr. Sandeep brings a unique blend of scientific expertise and real-world impact. His impressive profile boasts 20 plus international publications, 4 granted global patents, and widespread media recognition. A true champion of science for society, I would request everyone to please welcome him on the stage.
So I'm going to talk about biogas plants as CSR projects. So first I'll start with mentioning what is biogas. Many of you might have heard of gobar gas, and that is basically biogas made from cow dung. But biogas can be made from any organic material, any biodegradable material using a process called as anaerobic digestion, which I'm showing here. Take the organic waste, put it in a digester where there is no oxygen, that's anaerobic. You produce a gas which is about 60% methane and 40% CO2. That's called biogas. It's a renewable biofuel with net zero emissions, as I have mentioned here. It can be used for cooking, as many of you know, with simple H2S removal. It can be used to make electricity as well. And if you do even more purification, which is called upgradation, then you will be able to do what is called a CBG or bio-PNG, compressed biogas or bio-CNG, you may have heard of that. And this particular fuel can actually be used not only for electricity and heating, but also as a vehicle fuel, as a replacement for CNG. In addition, whatever carbon dioxide is removed during upgradation, that can also be used as a food additive, basically for bottling purposes. An important point here is about the biomanure, which is also a byproduct of any anaerobic digestion biogas process, and which is a good soil additive. So what I want you to take from this slide is that biogas is a uniquely flexible, renewable fuel, which also has applications in agriculture. Next slide. So some of you may have connected the dots here. Why is this important? So biogas plants uniquely address 3 specific problems that are addressing that are important for our country, our nation. One is organic waste. Only urban India produces more than 85,000 tons of organic degradable waste daily. That is more than 85,000 tons daily. In addition, our energy needs are only increasing as we are a growing nation. More than 75% of all our energy, all the oil, all the gas is imported today. And lastly but not least, the soil condition in India is absolutely terrible, with the organic carbon content going down due to abuse or overuse of chemical fertilizers. So biogas plants can uniquely address all these 3 points in the sense of a circular economy like I have showed here. This is a drawing by even a 10-year-old child, and he was able to understand what biogas plants do. So I am assuming that we all will be able to understand this as well. Can you go back to the slide? Yeah. So essentially the idea is that when we actually make food, it's obviously coming from plants, we cook, there is some food waste which goes into a biogas plant which produces a gas that can again be used for cooking, also produces a biofertilizer that can be used to grow food. That in essence is circular economy. Yes, but why should CSR people who are here care about biogas plants? They should, because biogas plants will give you a compliant with the law, that is, measurable, reportable, replicable, and a long-lasting impact. Specifically, I put some of the points here. It will give you renewable energy, like I mentioned. It will replace LPG, which you can measure in the form of how much LPG was replaced, how much electricity was replaced. It will give you environmental impact. Essentially, it will show you how much tons of waste was diverted from landfills, which again prevents CO2 emissions. Generates livelihood, obviously, because it generates more jobs. In addition, it is also a good tool for community engagement and education of the next generation on how to manage our world sustainably. Many students have, for example, come to many of these biogas plants that we have set up. It also is an important point from health and sanitation. Waste creates a lot of health problems in a lot of different stratas of society. Additionally, like I mentioned, the Schedule 7 CSR law allows and in fact encourages setup of such biogas plants. In addition, Solid Waste Management Rule 2016 mandate actually that solid waste should be managed sustainably. Next slide. Yeah. In addition, it gives you a social ROI. 7 SDGs, 7 Sustainable Development Goals are actually satisfied by your biogas plant. Again, like I mentioned, it gives you a long-term, economically sustainable infrastructure. All the biogas plants are self-sustainable in the sense that whatever expense is taken to run the biogas plants is less than how much you will save by saving LPG or replacing LPG. Again, it's, as I mentioned, it's a circular economy. And one last point, sorry. It's also a scalable model. Once you set up a biogas plant and show that it works, government or other institutions can absolutely replicate it in that fashion. So your impact of your CSR fund will be very high. Yeah. Next slide. How do you do this? So there are two primary stakeholders in this. One is the recipient of the biogas plant or recipient of your essentially CSR money. And then secondly is the technology implementer. Who's going to implement the biogas plant for you? So I'll talk about the recipient. How should you choose who gets to install the biogas plant with your CSR money? The idea that you have to make sure always is that they have already shown some sustainability commitment. Because that is extremely critical for them, for the biogas plant to succeed. They should also show that they are interested in doing this by some financial investment. Let's say you have a fund of 1 CR for CSR. Let's say 4 to 5 lakhs at least should be put by the recipient. In addition, even before the biogas plant is set up, it is critical that they set up a management structure internally on how to run the biogas plants. Who's the operator? Who or he or she will report to? Who's the manager? Where is the fund for operations coming from? This is very critical because when CSR money is given, typically recipients are ready to receive it quickly, but then the longevity of the infrastructure investment has to be guaranteed. They will obviously be submitting reports to you occasionally, periodically. MOU agreement of at least 3 years should be signed with the recipient. And like I mentioned earlier, dedicated personnel should be appointed to run these biogas plants. Next. Now, how do you select a technology partner? Who's going to implement the biogas plant for you? There again, unfortunately, in the biogas field, there are many fly-by-night operators who will give you the cheapest L1 type of situation and then disappear. So you have to be very careful in selecting the partners. So you should look for people who have already established these plants before. Like I said, should have had an installation experience. They should definitely commit to after-sales service. Biogas plants are not rocket science. However, there is some amount of after-sales service needed to keep these plants running, and they should provide warranties, AMCs, and potentially even operate the plants for you. So are there, next slide. So are there success stories? Has anybody done this before? Yes, there are many actually. So this is an example of a biogas plant set up in Bhadrachalam temple under ITC Wash Mission Sunerakal. This is now the 4th year of non-stop operation where they're adding food waste and cow dung in these biogas plants and cooking the prasadam in the canteen, in the temple canteen with this. Akshay Patra Foundation, which gives a midday meal scheme, which provides food for the midday meal scheme, has set up about 15 such biogas plants at different locations. And all of them are running, it's more than a decade now. The idea is very simple. Because these are commercial kitchens, there's a lot of food waste generated. That same food waste is going in the biogas plant inside their premises. And the gas produced is helping them replace the LPG that is used for cooking the food. Closer home, this is a biogas plant set up at Osmania University recently, about a year, almost to the date. It processes 2,000 kg per day, 2 tons per day of food waste. In this case, Osmania University put the money to purchase the electric vehicle, so to speak, their skin in the game. And the plant was funded with KPMG CSR along with Sahas NGO. The idea here is that the electric vehicle collects the waste from all the hostels, 20 plus hostels in their campus, gets it to one central location where there is a canteen, and then the canteen is now fully running on biogas without any LPG or wood being used there. This is what you can actually expect at the end of even 1 year, even with a 2,000 kg plant. So to date, more than 275 tons of food waste has been treated in this plant scientifically. That means it has been avoided to going to landfill. And more than about 566 tons of CO2 emissions have been avoided. In addition, as you can see, there is more than 15 lakhs worth of money being saved as well. So this is what is possible with your CSR money, a long-term sustainable plant or infrastructure that is operationally viable. So if you have any questions on those, I'll be happy to answer here or at our booth outside at the Ahuja Engineering Services. Thank you. We'll try. Yeah, so the question is that can you collect waste, segregate it, and use it? Yeah, that is essentially the idea. What we suggest typically, however, is that if you are using CSR money, try to locate a recipient, which is a, so to speak, commercial user or an industrial scale, or commercial. I say it because universities or hostels will have easily about 300 to 500 kg per day and more. Sometimes you'll be surprised how much waste there is, because these for CSR projects, these are the what I call low hanging fruit. There's another model where you can actually even tie up with municipalities and so on and so forth, and there again you can do a similar model where the municipality is responsible for giving you segregated waste and use the energy to probably even run their own vehicles or produce electricity. But yes, that is absolutely the idea. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, we did actually set up a biogas plant in Bovenpalli vegetable market here in Hyderabad. That was about 5 years ago. It's still running. That was not through CSR, but that was through a grant. But that's exactly the style. You know, you can absolutely tie up with government agencies like Raitu Bazaar. The question there always will be the following: that where will the energy be used? Ideally, the energy should be used generated for using replacing LPG. And I say that because while you can produce electricity also, the most important thing we have found in all these projects is operational viability. See, the capex is easy. You know, most people will give the capex, but who will run the plant after it is set up? The only way these plants run typically is if there is a monetary benefit, i.e., it is operationally viable. How many people you are putting to run the plant? Their cost should be less than what you save. So that happens only if you have a LPG use. But if you go to very high scale, yes, there you can use even power as a use. But yes, absolutely. To your point that Raitu bazaars and so on and so forth can be done. The minimum scale has to be there, but yeah, that is possible. Yeah. Yeah, so the question is about, can this be done to individual level or commercial, I mean, gated communities? Yes, right. So, very good question, sir. So, see yeah. So, there are wherever there are humans, there is waste. We'll have lunch after this. I'm sure there'll be waste after this as well. So now, how do you tackle, right? So, how do you tackle this? There's a lot of different sectors. Like I said, more than 85,000 tons just in urban India. Hyderabad produces today more than 5,000 tons of wet waste daily. So that's a huge, huge, huge problem. So now biogas can solve many of these things at different scales. Now, I'm because this is CSR, I'm limiting myself to CSR foundations or CSR funds. The amounts that typically are granted by CSR funds and the amount of size of biogas plants that can be set up using those should be set up at, like I said, the example was Osmania University, at locations where there is a very high chance of success. The reason we do this is because you can put 2 ton per plant, 2 ton per day plant, about say 1 CR, and you can easily save like even lakhs of rupees per month. Once these plants are successful, these can be replicated by government, because to solve 5,000 tons per day, you will need huge amounts of plants. But yeah, so from CSR perspective, what we suggest is find specific interventions like universities, hai bolo, ya fir, there are like BHEL or any other government places, wherever, or hospitals, schools, set up there, or even with some ULB, tie up with some ULB, set up a plant where there is a heat usage. And then that can be replicated. And like you said, even communities can do it, but not under CSR, obviously. But there are different models. Absolutely, everywhere there is waste, you can absolutely do it. We are working on the same things, marketing and so on and so forth. But nothing succeeds like success. You demonstrate a working plant and automatically it will spread. Yeah. In fact, what we do as a private limited company is that we actually set up biogas plants which are running independently now. In fact, we set up commercial scale biogas plants, and in fact, I keep saying that, I hope people copy us, because I hope, that, because I know that 5,000 tons per day we alone cannot solve. Just Hyderabad, I'm not even talking of India. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, the business model absolutely works. The question always is that how do you popularize it? And CSR is one way, because unfortunately for biogas there is a bad name because of a lot of things that happened with the gobar gas and how it was abused, the subsidies and so on and so forth. That has absolutely changed now with a lot of technologies there. Therefore, CSR becomes an impact fund, basically, where these two plants that is being set up here, even that they themselves become an example for other people, even private people. We have set up private places as well. Mahindra University has a biogas plant, for example. Absolutely business viable. In fact, they make money, so to speak. So yeah, we can carry this conversation offline. Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.